Hey, if taping drywall frustrates you and it looks anything like this, you probably ought to get rid of all your tools and go back to something else, because I exaggerated this a lot, but I know that a lot of you get really frustrated with taping. I'm going to give you 8 tips and tricks that should help you a lot and solve your taping problems. We're going to do that right after this. Okay, in today's video, I'm going to give you 8 tips that should really help you out when you're taping drywall. Plus, I'm going to talk a little bit about 3 different kinds of tape for drywall, because this is discussed a lot on YouTube, and I'm going to give you my recommendation. Number 1, mesh tape. I've probably put on 500 rolls of this stuff because it has the advantage of being faster if you know how to work it. That's the main advantage. The second advantage is kind of this, and that is that it's self-sticking. So you put this on, you're a lot less likely to get blisters because it does kind of self-stick. But it also requires you to use fast-setting joint compound, and that can be a problem for a lot of you novices. So be careful with that. The problem with that is if you get it on too thick, it's really hard to sand off. You may have to strip it back down if you really get it on too thick, if you have problems. So this way here with regular joint compound is more forgiving. Now you can use most any all-purpose joint compound for taping. In this case, I'm using USG +3, which is one reason it's kind of yellowish. But if you're using this, you can use paper tape. Now, paper tape's a great product. It's been around since the dawn of time. I think the dinosaurs used it. I know I used it in the early 70s with my dad running taping tools. But a new product on the market is this FiberFuse. And what this is, it's a tightly woven fiberglass taping product. So here, when I get closer, you can kind of see through it because it is not super tightly woven. It's just way more tight than, say, this stuff. And the advantage to this is that the mud will actually kind of flow through it. So even if you don't put the mud on perfectly, this is more forgiving. So this is the one I recommend, but it is fiberglass. If you brush against it much and you're sensitive to fiberglass, it'll make you itch a little bit. It's pretty minor. Otherwise, it does work good. So I'm going to show you the paper tape method because that will work with this just as well. And this is cheaper, so that is the other advantage. And another reason it's been used for a long time, but this is just a new product. So first thing we're going to talk about is, like I said, the mud. Any all-purpose, green label, regular weight, all-purpose. This is the lightweight, all-purpose. So whatever you got. First step is to make sure the mud is not too thick. That is one problem a lot of you have. It's kind of hard to describe on video, but you can see this is thinned down a bit, so it's not real thick. Now, one key is to mix it up really well. I've done other videos on that, but one way that you can do that is mix it right in your pan. If you don't have the big mixer and the bucket and all that, get this little mixer here from Level 5 Tools. You can get it as part of a complete kit with pans, knives, and this little mixer, and mix it up till it's nice and creamy, because it will go from being thick to thin just by mixing it up a lot of times. It's going to feel thicker if you don't mix it up. So that's step number 1. Get it reasonably thin. You want it to be pretty thin, but not so thin that you get it off here and it just all runs off your knife and you're having problems with it dripping all over. The other problem, it would be using the wrong mud. Most of the time you're pretty safe. Like I said, any all-purpose will generally work, but you don't want to use a topping mud. And there's some other muds out there, so just stick to all-purpose mud. So that's tip number 1, 2, and 3. The wrong mud, too thin or too thick of a mud. Now we're going to go on to tip number 4, which is wiping it too tight, and I'll show you that here in a second. You can often end up with blisters. Blisters means where there's a void behind the tape, or you wiped it out so tight that there just wasn't enough to stick, and it will often appear to be stuck. But when you go to coat it, there wasn't enough adhesion and it lifts and you get a little blister like this picture here of the blisters on the ceiling. This was actually done by a contractor who tried to do his own work, and I know a lot of you try and do it, but you made some of these mistakes here and it just does not pass. So you want to make sure you get it right. Another thing, that you might make a mistake with is if you put this mud on here, let's say, and you spread it out and you try and do too much and you come back and it started drying out a little bit. You don't want that. Dry spots are going to give you blisters. So avoid that one also. And tip number 7 would be using the wrong tape. And again, that'd be like using this with regular joint compound. The reason is that requires fast setting joint compound, or it's a lot more likely to crack and not stick as well. So you absolutely have to use fast setting joint compound with that. And tip number 8 would be experimenting with things like dish soap. Overall, dish soap isn't a problem, but if you put too much in, it could be. And overall, I find that it's just better not to experiment with the chemistry of the joint compound. They've got it this way for a reason. If you start tweaking it too much, you could affect the integrity of it and the adhesion. But now let's get into just showing you the right way to do it. So what you want to do is put on a nice thick layer of mud. It'd be better to put it on too thick than to put it on too thin. Now, of course, you guys, a lot of you will do it like this, and this is fine. If you do it like this, make sure you put plenty on, and then we're gonna go and just kind of lay it down and get it to even out. You can see on the second camera here, it's nice and thick. But the way we do it works the same. It's just faster. If you're gonna do much of this, you learn to really load that knife up and just simply, and you notice I did that little flip. That's because it's kind of runny. And if I don't, you can see it's starting to run off my knife. So let me get it loaded back up here. And you see a little drip there. We just run it up the wall or on the joint, whatever you're doing there. And then just lay your knife down pretty far. So your knuckles are almost dragging, but you don't want to quite drag your knuckles. And then you just are trying to even it out. So the general rule with spreading mud is the more you stand your knife up, the more you wipe off. The more you lay your knife down, you can push pretty dang hard and it won't wipe off too much of the mud for you. So when you're taping and putting it on, lay your knife down pretty good. Once you get that nice solid coat on there, you just want to put your tape into it. Try and put it on nice and straight. You don't want to get it too wrinkled. You can cut it like I did there. You don't want to have like this crookedness where you see the wrinkles starting to show. And then you generally wipe towards each end. And for this case, you stand it up more, because if you lay it down too much, you're not going to wipe enough out of it. And again, leaving too much on could even cause you a problem, partly because you'd end up with a hump here that you didn't need. So my mud's even just a hair thick, and that's partly because I'm taking so long. It's drying out a little bit, but it didn't get a white, scabby dryness on here, so it's okay. I'll just push a little bit harder. Okay, and then we're gonna come back down and wipe it out pretty good. Now, I'm gonna show you how you can wipe out too much mud. And we will do that. Let's see if I can do it on the top here. We'll just try and really get carried away here. Gonna make sure we got this thing stuck to this wall, right? And see, I took off quite a bit more mud. You don't want that to happen. Now, one way to check it is to do a little test like this and then peel it off. So we're gonna peel it off right here. And I'm gonna show you a close-up of this here in a second. But you can see in the video probably that it kind of raises these little peaks, and down here they're a little bit taller. Up here there's actually some voids where I wiped it out so much that there just really wasn't enough left to stick it down. And hey, before I go, I now have a raffle going. I'm going to try and have a raffle going most of the time where I can give away some cool free tools. We're giving away skim coating blades, laser levels, all kinds of cool stuff. You can win these for as little as $2. I don't expect to get a ton of entries, so you guys got a good chance of winning. Check out the link right below for the current contest going on, and go enter. Good luck, and I hope to be giving you that next freebie. And if you're really ready to end your frustration of drywall, come check out my new drywall courses. They're over at drywallacademy.com. That will lead you to the courses, or look for the link in the description down below, where I'm going to give you a free ebook for signing up. Just enter your email, you get the free ebook, and that way I can contact you and let you know when those courses come available. And hey, if you really want to take the confusion out of understanding all these different drywall tools and materials, I'm going to give away a copy of my new ebook called Understanding Drywall Tools and Materials. You can pick that up using the link in the description down below, or that's a condensed version. If you want the full version, it's available in my store at thatkiltedguystore.com. And I'm going to help simplify all this, and I'm going to show you why you don't need most of this. I'll show you what you do need and why. Hey, here's some more videos popping up for you that'll help you out right now. Thanks a lot, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care, everybody. We'll see you then.